Part 162. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1621. Chapter 1616 Purple Sound Heavenly Rules. As the giant beast corpse puppet launched an attack on Wu Yu, the other four demon emperors and Wu Jun did not miss this opportunity and continued to use various heavenly rules to bombard the giant beast corpse puppet. Compared with the giant beast corpse puppet, the gap between them is too big. The only advantage is the number of people, so they can only use this method to deal with it. When the giant beast corpse puppet attacked one of them, the others took the opportunity to attack. Even if they could not hurt it in a short time, they would always have a chance to break the defense of its black scales if they continued to attack. It is worthy of the strength of the immortal emperor level. Wu Yu dodged the attack of the opponent's purple storm and was a little scared. Just now, he almost didn't even have time to do a somersault. If he was caught in the purple storm, he would definitely die. You know, the purple storm distorted even the void, not to mention him, a little immortal in the Taigzu Fairyland. Although Wu Yu's current strength can be compared with the peak of Taigzu Fairyland, and he can even defeat some 9 heavens fairy kings and 9 heavens demon kings, he is still far behind the eternal demon emperor. As he dodged, others attacked the giant beast corpse puppet. The giant beast corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor immediately changed its target and rushed towards the nearest eternal golden mountain. The purple storm surged out of its mouth and instantly covered the huge eternal golden mountain. 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules. The eternal golden mountain instantly used a defensive method, and a 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules power burst out from its body. This 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules quickly condensed into an electric net beside him, completely protecting his entire huge body in it. If this 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules power is used to defend Wu Yu's peak state of the Annihilation Cloud Seal, it can be guaranteed not to collapse, and it will even only tremble twice. However, now, when the purple storm of the giant beast corpse swept over, the electric net formed by the 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules was almost shattered in an instant. The terrifying power that was enough to distort the void tore the 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules electric net apart, and then fell on the body of the eternal golden mountain. The painful voice of the eternal golden mountain came out. It can be seen that the purple storm almost twisted and tore apart the entire body of the mountain. The power of the endless purple heavenly rules swirled around in the body of the eternal golden mountain, making him miserable. This eternal golden mountain is a golden mountain that has become a demon. Since he cultivated into a demon and gave birth to spiritual intelligence, he has never suffered such a terrible trauma, which almost completely destroyed his golden mountain body. Fortunately, the vitality of this eternal golden mountain is extremely tenacious. After all, it is not an ordinary demon beast, but a golden mountain of heaven and earth that has become a demon. It is difficult to be completely killed. As long as the spiritual intelligence is not destroyed, the body of the golden mountain is not completely destroyed, and there is still a chance of regeneration. At this time, the purple storm swept over his whole body, and the purple power of the heavenly rules raged in his body, causing his body to be cut and split continuously, and twisted together with the void. Wu Yu was a little frightened when he saw it. In this situation, he attacked the giant beast corpse puppet while observing the state of the eternal golden mountain. He found that as the power of the purple storm weakened, the eternal golden mountain actually recovered slowly. Although he was seriously injured, he did not die just like that. The existence of the heaven and earth golden mountain demon was really powerful. Its golden mountain body was even more defensive than Wu Yu's Vajra indestructible body. Of course, after this battle, the golden mountain body of the eternal golden mountain was severely damaged. If he wanted to fully recover, it would take at least hundreds of thousands of years of conditioning and recuperation. This was its limitation. Although his vitality was extremely strong, it would take many times longer than others to recover after being severely injured. But in this situation, it was good enough to be strong enough. Wang Gujinshan did not die. After recovering, he launched an attack on the giant beast corpse puppet again. The 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules instantly turned into a series of terrifying thunders and bombarded the giant beast corpse puppet. This is Huan Jinshan's strongest means. The 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules are the terrifying power that erupts from the metal in his body that triggers the magnetic force. His powerful attack even destroyed the black scales of the giant beast corpse puppet, which became charred under the ravages of the 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules. At this time, the giant beast corpse puppet was attacking other people. Perhaps he thought that a purple storm was enough to deal with Huan Jinshan. But until now, Huan Jinshan's 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules came suddenly, which was the attack that caused the greatest trauma to the giant beast corpse puppet. Other attacks were like tickling, leaving only a trace of scars on its black scales. As the Eternal Golden Mountain performed this move, the attention of the giant beast corpse puppet shifted to the Eternal Golden Mountain again, which made the Eternal Golden Mountain immediately gather all its strength, and the 10,000 magnetic heavenly rules dissipated instantly, and then the whole thing retreated far away. He didn't dare to confront the corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor head-on now, so he could only withdraw temporarily. However, although the corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor had no intelligence, it had a fighting instinct. Its use of the power of the heavenly rules in its body was definitely not inferior to the level when it was alive. Even now, it can judge the opponent who poses the greatest threat to it in battle. It still approached the Eternal Golden Mountain, and the purple storm quickly condensed in his mouth. The Eternal Demon Emperor cannot die. Whether it was Wu Yu or other demon emperors, even Wu Jun knew this, so at this time, they joined hands, and the power of heavenly rules of various attributes burst out instantly, and the next moment they bombarded and killed the purple storm condensed by the corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor. At this time, the purple storm had already exited and was roaring towards the Eternal Golden Mountain. However, it was intercepted by Wu Yu and all of them on the way. It suddenly exploded on the spot, and the void was distorted to the extreme for a while. Everything seen through that void was completely fragmented. The extremely violent power almost caused the void to be annihilated, and the giant beast corpse puppet's offensive against the Eternal Golden Mountain was finally intercepted by their joint efforts. Continue, Clone Heaven rules. Wu Yu didn't stop at all. After seeing that the Eternal Golden Mountain was temporarily safe, he once again split into millions of clones. These millions of clones had just been destroyed by the giant beast corpse puppet, but they turned into monkey hair and returned to him. Now they appear again, which is also very stressful for Wu Yu. If these clones are destroyed again, they will not be able to be summoned in a short time. But now, the clones' heavenly rules erupted from millions of clones at the same time, condensing into a bunch of extremely terrifying heavenly rules fluctuations, which bombarded the giant beast corpse. At this time, Wu Yu still maintained the activeness of the combat heavenly rules and the flesh heavenly rules. The power of these two heavenly rules allowed him to increase his strength to the extreme. At this time, the offensive of condensed clones of the heavenly rules bombarded the Eternal Golden Mountain in it. Places where scorch marks were left on the body. Suffering another heavy blow, the originally scorched black scales on the giant beast corpse puppet were finally completely shattered. Although only a small scale was shattered, this was already a very important step. It can be seen that they can definitely work together. Opportunity to kill this giant beast corpse puppet. Several pieces of that part of the pitch black scales were shattered, which made the giant beast corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor furious and howled immediately. This immortal emperor demon, who was originally the demon god realm, has now been refined into a corpse puppet. It has lost the ability to speak, and even lost memory and intelligence, leaving only the basic instinct of fighting. When he howled, some kind of sonic heavenly law was contained in the howl, accompanied by a burst of purple light, which instantly spread towards the surroundings, actually affecting the vast space of the entire front hall, and the four major the Demon Emperor, Wu Yu, and Wu Jun are all enveloped. Wu Jun, who was the first to bear the brunt, first felt a splitting headache. At this time, he transformed into an ancient fairy spirit dragon. The fairy spirit energy on his body naturally formed a protective film to resist it, but this protective film was instantly shattered by the opponent's Xian Tiangi. Immediately, Wu Jun felt as if his head had exploded. The Xian heavenly rules kept echoing in his mind, destroying everything in his mind. Wu Yu was also hit by the other party's purple sound celestial rule and was swept away by the purple light. Then the devastating power of the purple sound celestial rule began to echo in his mind. He had a splitting headache and could clearly feel some kind of power coming from him, passing through his own body. This is my clone's heavenly rule. Soon, he endured the exploding pain in his head and observed the injuries in his body, and found that the power of the clone in his body was surrounded by a purple light. This purple light seemed to be the power brought into his body by the Xian celestial ruler just now, and it actually sealed his clone celestial ruler. At this time, Wu Yu found that his clone celestial ruler had become unable to be used. The same seems to be true for other people. Not only that, after being hit by the Xian heavenly rule, there is a buzzing sound in their heads at any time, and it is obvious that they have suffered serious internal injuries. Of course, the 4 demon emperors of the eternal world tree, the supreme lava beast, the king of heaven, and the eternal golden mountain have no heads. They exist in the form of their own bodies. Now they just feel that some of their heavenly powers are sealed. Moreover, that purple light is still spreading towards other parts of their bodies. If they wait until this purple light completely spreads to their whole body, it may be their death. So they must defeat the giant beast corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor before that. As expected of the immortal emperor, this method is really terrifying and impossible to guard against. Wu Yu gritted his teeth. Even if the clone Tiangi couldn't be used, he still had many other methods. The top priority must be to defeat the giant beast corpse puppet. At this critical moment, the 4 demon emperors, Wu Yu and Wu Jun, cooperated with all their heart. Each of them's attack on the giant beast corpse puppet was extremely important. As long as one person was missing, it would be impossible to defeat the corpse puppet. Blast and kill. Therefore, it is rare that they help each other at this time. Although this giant beast corpse puppet has fighting instincts, it is still very difficult for Wu Yu and others to completely kill one of them when they are restrained by each other. As they continued to bombard with the power of heavenly rules, black scales were constantly being shattered on the surface of the purple-eyed emperor's giant beast corpse. Without the black scales, its defensive capabilities were greatly reduced, and victory was already in sight. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1622. The body of the purple-eyed emperor was attacked by the 4 demon emperors, Wu Yu and Wu Jun. Although the purple sound heavenly rule restricted their strength, the constant fighting with them still yielded results. Finally, most of the black scales on its body were shattered, and then a series of terrifying heavenly rule powers descended, gradually tearing the flesh of the giant beast corpse of the purple-eyed emperor into pieces. The giant beast corpse kept roaring, and the terrifying roar spread throughout the front hall of the tomb guarding hall. Purple light continued to burst out from its body, exploding in all directions, and the purple storm whistled and swept around, but was easily avoided by Wu Yu and the demon emperors. As the battle progressed, the corpse's body was damaged more and more seriously, causing its strength to become weaker and weaker. As if seeing the dawn of victory, the 4 demon emperors, Wu Yu and Wu Jun, began to relax a little. As long as they continued to work hard, they could completely defeat the giant beast corpse. But at this most critical moment, 2 purple beams suddenly shot out from the purple pupils of the giant beast corpse. These 2 purple beams gave off a shocking aura, and the terrifying power instantly passed through the void and landed on the body of the superstar king, who was still some distance away. At this moment, the star body of the superstar king was pierced at once, and the 2 purple beams exploded in the star, along with the void. The demon king emperor didn't even have time to react. He even just burst out a move of heavenly rule power, ready to completely destroy the giant beast corpse, but these two purple beams suddenly swept over, pierced his star body and then exploded. All this happened in an instant. When Wu Yu and the others reacted, the star body of the Superstar King had been completely shattered, and collapsed along with the nearby void, and the life of the Demon King Emperor naturally disappeared in it. Originally, the Superstar wanted to protect himself first, and then attack when he had time, but the violent attack of the giant beast corpse puppet before his death made him unable to react at all. The two purple beams shot out from the purple pupils are likely to kill anyone in the field. Even if Wu Yu faces it, he may not have time to use the somersault cloud to dodge. Just now, it was completely the purple pupil emperor's corpse puppet before his death. He did not choose anyone at all, but just randomly shot two purple beams. And these two purple beams almost exhausted the last strength of the purple pupil emperor. Next, he had no power to fight back. He was bombarded into several pieces by the remaining three demon emperors, Wu Yu and Wu Jun. Wu Yu was quick-eyed and quick-handed. When the three demon emperors were still reminiscing about the destroyed superstar, he had quickly approached the giant beast corpse puppet that had completely lost its power, and put the body of the purple pupil emperor into his bag. This is the body of an immortal emperor demon from ancient times. Although it has been refined into a corpse puppet and has just been blasted into pieces by them, it is a much more complete immortal emperor demon corpse compared to the emperor demon blood, the Black Sea emperor tentacles, and even the head of the world-destroying infant demon that Wu Yu had obtained before. If it can be swallowed, it will definitely be of great help to Wu Yu. At least he can reach a higher level in realm, allowing him to have the combat power to completely crush the Nine Heavens Demon King. The remaining three demon emperors, the Eternal Golden Mountain, the Eternal World Tree, and the Supreme Lava Giant Beast, stared at Wu Yu, who took away the Emperor Demon Corpse Puppet, and regretted why they didn't think of this. It was really the death of the Superstar King just now that shocked them too much. Originally, the Superstar King was one of the stronger ones among them, and he had always acted very cautiously. Unexpectedly, he died here unexpectedly, and even his body was destroyed along with the void, leaving nothing behind. This miserable end made the three demon emperors shudder in their hearts. This eternal emperor burial is too dangerous. Wu Yu blasted out and killed an endless nether sea on the white jade platform, and now another superstar has died, and the remaining three are all injured, especially the Eternal Golden Mountain, whose injuries are quite serious. This makes the total strength of the five demon emperors who came in when they came in less than half of the initial strength. Wu Yu and Wu Jun are in a pretty good state now, and Wu Yu even improved in the previous secret room and realized the time-speed change heavenly rule. With one side gaining and the other side losing, Wu Yu and Wu Jun now join hands and are no longer afraid of the remaining three demon emperors on the other side. Of course, Wu Yu can't target the three demon emperors now, because the tomb guarding hall has only left a front hall, and there are more halls behind, waiting for them to explore, and what kind of danger they will encounter is completely unpredictable. When facing the purple-eyed emperor, if the six of them hadn't joined forces, they would have to pay a heavier price to finally kill the corpse puppet. So, now it's impossible for both sides to fight each other. However, Wu Yu had just taken away the dilapidated corpse of the purple-eyed emperor, and the three demon emperors would still fight for it. It was impossible for him to take it so easily. We also have a share of that corpse, hand it over. The Supreme Lava Beast was a little irritable, and now he was even more out of control, and snorted coldly at Wu Yu. The Eternal World Tree said in a deep voice, "Yes. We can share it. Maybe someone can improve their realm and enter the next hall, and the possibility of survival is greater." The three demon emperors surrounded Wu Yu vaguely, obviously trying to threaten him to hand over the things. However, it was impossible for Wu Yu to hand over what he had obtained, not to mention that under the current circumstances, even if they separated the body of Emperor Zi Tong, they would not dare to devour it on the spot. Who knows whether the two sides will attack each other while the other side is devouring and digesting it. Once you are attacked by a sneak attack while practicing devouring, everything will be over. So Wu Yu said calmly, this corpse can be divided equally later. Even if it is handed over now, you don't dare to devour it on the spot, right? Moreover, it will take tens of thousands of years to digest the corpse of the Emperor Demon, which is possible at any time in this place something happened. The burial of the immortal Emperor and the guarding tomb hall are too mysterious. Apart from anything else, it has only been a few decades since they set foot here. How much has changed from the time of fog to the present? There may be danger in this place at any time. If they were to digest the tens of thousands of years of Emperor Demon corpses here, they would probably die countless times. Wu Yu's words made the three demon emperors think about it and felt that they were right. It was impossible to devour the demon emperor's corpse here to digest it and increase their strength. But they still want to get the emperor demon corpse, at least to put it on themselves. However, Wu Yu still didn't give them a chance. If I put it on you, if you die midway, wouldn't it be a waste? Let's put it on me. After all, you still have a bronze pendant on you, right? Wu Jun also spoke up and said, yes, by the time the bronze pendant comes in use, it will probably be safe and harvested. When you hand over the bronze pendant, we will give you the Emperor Demon's corpse. Isn't it fair? The three demon emperors are very unhappy now. They also contributed to killing the corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor, and the superstar king also died, so they must get a part of the spoils. But now, even if they attack Wu Yu, they can't catch Wu Yu at all. In the front hall of the tomb guarding hall, Wu Yu could constantly use his methods to escape, and the three demon emperors could not catch him at all. You can't catch it in such a small place as by a platform, let alone here. Therefore, they could only do what Wu Yu said and let go of the Emperor Demon's corpse for the time being. The Supreme Lava Beast snorted coldly, in that case, I hope you will keep your promise when the time comes, otherwise we will never hand over the bronze pendant in our hands. After saying this, there was nothing more to say about the corpse of Emperor Zitong. Now it is impossible for Wu Yu to devour the body of the purple-eyed emperor. Once he devours it and cultivates, Wu Jun alone will never be able to withstand the opponent's three demon emperors. The situation will be very bad by then. Although Wu Yu devours the body quickly, it will not be instantaneous. It'll be done in half a minute. The door we came in through has been closed. Wu Jun observed the surroundings and provided a message to the others, which made their faces look bad. The entrance was closed, as if the place was designed to attract others in and then shut them in. What kind of place is this tomb guard hall? Now they really can't even leave and can only move on. Then let's go, things will change later. Wu Yu gave some suggestions to the three demon emperors. The two sides kept a relatively far distance from each other and moved forward together deeper into the tomb guard hall. The entire front hall of the tomb guard hall occupies a huge space. They walked deeper into the tomb guard hall. After several days, they finally came to another dark door. The pitch-black door was ajar like the previous one. If the corpse puppet of the great purple-eyed emperor was guarding the front hall, then behind it was the middle hall. On the door were a few large blood-colored characters, guard the tomb hall, middle hall. In this way, there may be an apse after the nave. Go in. Now that Wu Yu's millions of clones could not be used, they discovered that the purple sound heavenly rule of the purple-eyed emperor had not completely dissipated from their bodies, and it would take some time before they could use all the power of the heavenly rule. But this is not a big problem. If you continue to stay where you are, no one knows what kind of danger you will encounter, so it is best to keep moving forward. At least from the perspective of the builder of this tomb guarding hall, he hopes that intruders will keep moving forward. This can be seen from the fact that the rear entrance door is tightly closed. There is always nothing wrong with following the will of the builder. The three demon emperors, Wu Yu, Wu Jun, and the remaining 5 of them walked in one after another towards the ajar door. If they had a choice, the 3 demon emperors really wanted to leave here now. Unfortunately, they had no other choice and could only bite the bullet and move forward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1623. Soon, the 5 of them passed through the front hall and came to the middle hall. Then Wu Yu discovered that there seemed to be no corpse puppets in the middle hall, but it was divided into 2 areas. The left area was filled with the chaos fire of Ghost Valley, which seemed to burn the void in that area, and the right area was filled with eternal night. During the cold wave, the entire void became a world of frost. Cold wave tornadoes kept whizzing past, freezing and shattering the void. The middle hall is guarded by these 2 top-level immortals. Wu Yu and Wu Jun looked at each other, and both saw doubts in each other's eyes. Because they felt that the 2 forces in the middle hall, whether it was the chaos fire of Ghost Valley or the cold wave of eternal night, were weaker than those seen outside before, and even with their current strength, they could barely resist it. Try to pass through here. If this is the test of the middle hall, it will be easier to deal with than the corpse puppet of Emperor Zi Tong. It shouldn't be that simple. Let's set off first and pay attention to our surroundings at all times. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Wu Yu told Wu Jun, and then he was ready to break into the chaos fire of Gui Valley. For Wu Yu, the eternal night cold wave posed a greater threat to him, so he chose to travel from the direction of chaos fire of Gui Valley. As for the other 3 demon emperors, Wu Yu discussed with them and asked them to travel from the direction of the eternal night cold wave. They should not be too far away from each other. If any danger occurs, they can also look after each other. Although they quarreled with each other and even cooperated only temporarily, at critical moments, the other party did not dare not to help. After all, in this situation, if either party dies, the other party will basically not be able to survive. The 5 people present know this truth very well. The 3 demon emperors joined forces and broke into the area of the eternal night cold wave. They each used their own methods to resist the violent cold wave that could freeze the void. Wu Yu and Wu Jun broke into the chaos fire area of the Ghost Valley and began to resist with all their strength this kind of ghost fire that could burn the void. This flame contained the power of chaos, as if it was born naturally between heaven and earth, and had the power to burn all things. Ability. Wu Yu wrapped himself with the power of the golden fire heavenly rules, which was able to weaken the lethality of these Ghost Valley chaos fires to a certain extent. He was barely able to hold on, and Wu Jun also relied on his own means to resist them. The power of these immortals in this place is indeed weaker than what I have seen outside before. If this is the only danger in the middle hall, it would be too simple. Therefore, Wu Yu and Wu Jun were always vigilant. On the other side of them, the 3 demon emperors were also constantly groping forward in vigilance. The eternal night cold wave did not put much pressure on them and they were able to withstand it. Even the eternal Jinshan, whose body had been traumatized, could resist it. There is no problem getting up. They kept moving forward. The entire middle hall was very large, even bigger than the front hall where Emperor Zi Tong was before. It would take them a lot of time to pass through this area. When they walked halfway through the journey and reached the center of the nave, a sudden change occurred. The immortal Yun power in the 2 areas of the middle hall, the Ghost Valley Chaos Fire and the Eternal Night Cold Wave, suddenly rioted at the same time, and quickly shrank towards the center of their respective areas, as if some kind of force was devouring these immortal Yun. What's going on? Wu Yu became nervous and immediately stopped and observed the center of the 2 areas. The same is true for Wu Jun and the 3 demon emperors. Now they dare not move around casually. The chaos fire of Ghost Valley and the cold wave of eternal night in the area have shrunk and gathered, triggering extremely violent firestorms and ice storms, which have swept all 5 of them into it. Under the cover of the golden fire sky rules, Wu Yu was barely able to persevere in the firestorm. Then he saw that in the center of the left area, the absorbed and condensed Ghost Valley chaos fire gathered together and gradually formed a blazing fire. Sun. This is an immortal emperor demon. Wu Yu and Wu Jun were shocked when they saw a pair of golden pupils appear on the blazing Sunday. Those pupils seemed to contain the most arrogant flames in the world, full of top-notch intimidation. Obviously, these Ghost Valley chaotic fires actually condensed into an immortal emperor demon, but this immortal emperor demon looks like the previous purple-eyed emperor. It is not a living thing, but a corpse after death that has been refined into a corpse puppet. This eternal emperor demon can exist in the form of chaos fire in Ghost Valley. It is an extremely ancient eternal emperor demon, and seems to have been born at the beginning of heaven and earth. On the other side, the eternal night cold wave also gathered together. After sweeping half of the nave, a black sphere was formed in the center, which looked like a moon, echoing the golden sun here. These two are Emperor Yangyuan and Emperor Yunyuan. They are a pair of immortal emperor demons in the demon god realm. Unexpectedly, they were also refined into corpse puppets here. Wu Yu found some relevant records about these two demon emperors from the memories of some demon kings he had devoured before. The Yangyuan emperor, whose body is the sun origin beast, and the Yunyuan emperor, whose body is the Taiyan origin beast. These two were born at the beginning of heaven and earth. Even Wu Yu did not know how ancient these two were in the memory of the demon king. Compared with these two, the Purple Eye Emperor is just a little guy. Of course, in terms of strength, the Taiyan origin beast and the Sun origin beast combined are many times stronger than the Purple Eye Emperor. The records indicate that if this pair of yin-yang source beasts join forces, they are enough to deal with 3 other immortal emperor demons of the same level. When they cooperate with each other, they can display extremely terrifying combat power. When Wu Yu recognized the identities of the 2 corpse puppets, the other 3 demon emperors also recognized them. The Eternal World Tree immediately roared towards the side. You hold back the Sun Source Beast over there, don't let it get close, otherwise we will definitely die. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. If they are refined into corpse puppets, the yin-yang source beasts should not have wisdom, and there will be no such joint attack methods. Wu Yu, Wu Jun, and the 3 demon emperors can each hold 1, so that the 2 corpse puppets cannot merge, and their combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. Wu Yu obviously also understands this principle, but the problem now is that any one of the yin-yang source beasts is as powerful as the previous purple-eyed emperor corpse puppet. Now it is too difficult for him and Wu Jun to hold back the Sun Source Beast. But there is no other way now. When the Sun Source Beast was completely formed, a burst of blazing flames suddenly swept towards Wu Yu and Wu Jun, who were closest to it, and the terrifying heat wave almost scorched their bodies. The blazing flames released from the Sun Source Beast, which was like a blazing sun, formed waves of fire one after another. This was the power of the heavenly rule that it was most proficient in, called Chaos Fire Heavenly Rule. It was this heavenly rule power that enabled it to exist in the form of Giga Chaos Fire. Wu Yu and Wu Jun each used their own means to immediately dodge from their original positions. This time, the 2 of them faced a corpse puppet of an immortal emperor demon, which was more dangerous than before in the front hall. They could only escape in a panic, and it was impossible for them to launch any offensive against the blazing sun in the center of the area. Even so, they were constantly burned by the blazing fire waves, and their hair was soon all burnt. No, it's too strong, I'm no match for it. Wu Jun tried to attack, but when his Dragon Breath Heavenly Rule touched the opponent's Chaos Fire Heavenly Rule, it was directly swallowed up, and even the Dragon Breath Heavenly Rule was completely burned, and burned clean by the flames in the void. As more and more waves of fire came, Wu Jun's light realm heavenly rules would soon be unable to resist. He didn't have the agility of Wu Yu, so he could only rely on his strength to resist, but he was only at the realm of the nine heavens immortal king. How could it be easy to resist the attack of the eternal emperor demon? After a few waves of heat waves, Wu Jun couldn't resist it. The entire body of the ancient fairy dragon was almost burned to charcoal, and the whole body became charred. If this continued, Wu Jun would die in a short time. Fortunately, Wu Yu didn't go away now. Before another wave of heat waves swept over, he quickly let Wu Jun return to the floating life tower to rest. The middle hall was large enough, and Wu Jun immediately began to flee with the magical power of the somersault cloud. Of course, he didn't dare to flee too far, lest the sun source beast find the three demon emperors. He could only use the means of shape-shifting, but he didn't dare to do somersaults. Now Wu Yu was observing the battle of the three demon emperors and found that it was basically one-sided. The dark moon seemed to be unchanged, constantly emitting cold air towards the three demon emperors, and cold water waves rushed out one after another, freezing even the void along the way. The three demon emperors could only barely resist, but it was basically impossible to kill the Taiyan source beast. Wu Yu was waiting for the sun source beast to attack him, and then he escaped to the nearby space with the somersault cloud, but the sun source beast was obviously not so easy to fool. Seeing Wu Yu escape twice in a row, its fighting instinct made it perform a trick to trap the enemy. Ghost Fire Prison Heaven Rule. Endless Ghost Valley Chaos Fire emerged from the void beside Wu Yu, and then formed a series of flame lines to trap him. This Ghost Fire Prison Heaven rule is a means of imprisonment from the sun source beast. Once trapped by it, you will suffer endless ghost fire torture forever. Even Wu Yu's indestructible body will probably be burned to ashes at that time. Even the nearby void is imprisoned. Wu Yu felt that when the Ghost Fire Prison Heavenly rules appeared, the void around him seemed to be imprisoned. Every inch of the void seemed to be burning with flames, controlled by the Ghost Valley Chaos Fire. If it was just a means of changing shape and shadow, it would be impossible to escape from such a predicament. In a hurry, Wu Yu didn't care about the situation on the other side. He flipped directly and disappeared from the field in an instant, escaping from the Ghost Fire Prison Heavenly rules. After a somersault, Wu Yu was far away, which made the sun source beast finally change its target. Because at this time, the three demon emperors were closer to the sun source beast. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1624. When Wu Yu turned around and fled with Wu Jun, the sun origin beast finally set its sights on the three demon emperors. If there was only one Taiyan origin beast, the remaining three demon emperors could still barely resist its attack. No matter how violent the various cold heavenly powers were, they could always find ways to withstand it. After all, the bodies of the three demon emperors are very powerful. The eternal golden mountain, the eternal world tree, and the supreme lava beast are all natural bodies of heaven and earth, and they are not ordinary demon gods. But as the sun origin beast and Taiyan origin beast merged together, the front lines of the three demon emperors collapsed almost instantly. Boy, you are looking for death. The supreme lava beast's liver and gallbladder were about to burst. He stared in the direction of Wu Yu. He originally planned to deal with each side one by one, but he didn't expect that Wu Yu escaped first, causing them to be surrounded. This made him extremely angry, but there was nothing he could do now. As soon as the sun origin beast charged over, it merged with the Taiyan origin beast. The Chaos Fire Celestial Ruler and the Eternal Night Celestial Ruler from both sides merged together, instantly creating an extremely terrifying circle of ice and fire, which first swept towards the Supreme Lava Beast. 2. The Supreme Lava Beast just wanted to escape, but found that the surrounding void had been locked, and his body was so huge that it was difficult to dodge, so he could only release the explosive fire rules in his body to try to fight against the circle of ice and fire. The next moment, the supreme lava beast's explosive sky rule collided with the circle of ice and fire released by the yin-yang source beast. The two were like a fly shaking a tree, and they actually presented a one-sided situation. The supreme lava behemoth couldn't resist it at all. The explosive fire rules around its body were swallowed up in an instant, and instead transformed into the power of the circle of ice and fire. The next moment, the entire supreme lava behemoth was enveloped in it. Covered by the terrifying power, the supreme lava beast only had time to let out a shrill scream before its entire giant lava body was completely roasted and frozen in the circle of ice and fire, and then completely shattered. One of the 5 demon emperors, the Supreme Demon Emperor, has finally been unable to escape the zombie attack, and died tragically in the tomb guarding hall like the Heavenly King Demon Emperor. Wu Yu's move undoubtedly harmed the remaining 3 demon emperors, but he must have focused on saving his own life. If he hadn't used Somersault Cloud to escape, I'm afraid he would be the one who died now. With the death of the Supreme Lava Beast, the remaining Eternal World Tree and Eternal Golden Mountain instantly lost their fighting spirit. They no longer resisted, but turned around and escaped in the direction of Wu Yu. Breaking the promise, "Boy, you will not die well," Eternal Jinshan yelled angrily. He was severely injured by the attack of the purple-eyed emperor when he was in the front hall. Now he can't escape very fast, seeing that the Eternal World Tree has already escaped. When he arrived in front of him, he was completely panicked. Regret, unwillingness, resentment, and all kinds of negative emotions rose in the heart of Eternal Jinshan. He thought that it would have been better if he had not entered the Immortal Emperor's burial. Although there would be no chance of quickly breaking through to the Immortal Emperor Demon, there was no danger at all. How about staying in the Demon God realm obediently? At least there is no danger of death. In fact, when he entered the Yongsheng Emperor's burial, what he was thinking about was that he would fight for it no matter what. Even if there was a danger of losing his life, he could not give up this opportunity. Only now, when he was actually facing death, was he finally afraid, and the emotion of regret soon filled his whole heart. He doesn't want to die. How difficult is it to turn a golden mountain into a demon and give birth to spiritual wisdom? Now, this eternal golden mountain is left behind by the Eternal World Tree, and is about to die in the hands of the pair of yin-yang origin beasts. At this time, he suddenly remembered that Wu Yu seemed to have a small white tower that could hide the ancient fairy dragon inside. Otherwise, the ancient fairy dragon would definitely be the first to die here. This made Eternal Gold Mountain seem to have grasped a life-saving straw. He quickly said, "Let me enter that small tower quickly. As long as you protect me, I will obey your orders from now on, without any second thoughts, as long as you can protect me from death." His voice was clear and shrill, but he seemed to have forgotten that just a breath ago, he was still cursing Wu Yu desperately, hoping that he would die miserably. When faced with death, even the 9-Heaven Demon King, who had lived for countless years, could not control his emotions and did not want to die like this. It's a pity that Wu Yu can't save him now even if he wants to, because the yin-yang origin beast behind him is too close. What's more, why should Wu Yu save him? Originally, they didn't want the demon emperors to die because there was still hope of being able to fight against the zombie puppets, but now, it doesn't matter whether the Eternal Golden Mountain is alive or not. They can't defeat the corpse puppets of the yin-yang origin beast anyway. Wu Yu was already prepared. After all the demon emperors were killed, he would rely on the magical powers of Somersault Clouds and Fa Tian Xiangdi to deal with them, and then slowly think of a way. The other demon emperors couldn't do anything about it, but at least his escape methods were stronger, and the yin-yang origin beast couldn't do anything to him for a while. At this time, the attack of the yin-yang origin beast finally swept over from behind. It was a terrifying flame falling from the sky, and a cold wind tornado rolled up from below, completely surrounding the huge Eternal Golden Mountain. Eternal Jinshan felt the terrifying destructive power of the Chaos Fire Celestial Rules and the Cold Wave Celestial Rules, and the fear in his heart was amplified to the extreme. He finally turned into a human form and did not dare to maintain his body. In this way, he escaped temporarily and with the help of the humanoid figure was relatively flexible and slipped out of the encirclement. But then the Chaos Fire Heavenly Rules and the Cold Wave Heavenly Rules merged together again, forming a storm of ice and fire, and then enveloped the human-shaped Eternal Golden Mountain. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. This time, the Eternal Golden Mountain was finally completely defeated by the joint attack of the Yin-Yang Source Beast, just like the Supreme Lava Beast just now. In the ice and fire storm, it didn't even have ashes left, and it completely dissipated in the void. The shrill screams of the Eternal Golden Mountain, the last Eternal World Tree heard a chilling feeling. He seemed to see his own end, like the Eternal Golden Mountain and the Supreme Lava Beast, being completely swallowed by the ice and fire storm. In this situation, fear occupied his entire heart, and he didn't even have the mind to regret. Now the only thing he wanted was to seek Wu Yu's protection. The Eternal Golden Mountain's call for help just now gave him a direction to escape, and he was different from the Eternal Golden Mountain. He still had a bronze pendant on him. He quickly shouted to Wu Yu, "Save me. If you save me, I will be at your disposal in the future, and I will give you the bronze pendant." He was in a desperate state, and this was the only way to save his life. This made Wu Yu a little tempted. The Eternal World Tree was a Nine Heavens Demon King anyway. Although it was useless to him, it would be helpful if it came with the bronze pendant. Now Wu Yu didn't know what the bronze pendant was for, but it was always right to carry it with him. Anyway, it was just saving the Eternal World Tree, which would not have much impact on Wu Yu. After a little consideration, Wu Yu quickly approached the Eternal World Tree, ready to throw it into the floating life tower. But it was obvious that the Yin-Yang Source Beast was approaching the Eternal World Tree faster. The blazing sun and the cold full moon, one on the left and one on the right, burst out from the void at a very fast speed and approached the Eternal World Tree. Originally, when the two corpse puppets were dealing with the Eternal Golden Mountain, the Eternal World Tree had already fled a long way away, but looking at the current situation, it would not take long for the other party to catch up. I saw that around the blazing hot sun and the cold full moon, there was actually a layer of ice and fire storm surrounding the two, taking them through the void, and the speed was more than 10 times faster than the Eternal World Tree. Almost in an instant, the Yin-Yang Source Beast carried the ice and fire storm and caught up with the Eternal World Tree not far behind. Feeling the fatal threat coming from behind, the Eternal World Tree was even more frightened. From the beginning of his birth to now, he had never experienced the threat of death like now, which led to him almost not considering what to do if death really came when he stepped into the Eternal Emperor's burial. But now, he regretted it. How good would it be if he had not stepped into this place? But now he still has a chance. The moment the Yin-Yang Source Beast approached, the Eternal World Tree immediately displayed a magical method that only he knew, transplanting flowers and trees. This method was his ultimate life-saving magic. When the flower transfer technique was performed, part of the branches and leaves of his original Eternal World Tree fell off at once, and countless green vines entangled, forming an Eternal World Tree with the same shape as his original body, but a little smaller. This turned out to be a method of making a puppet, or a clone. The small Eternal World Tree also had his consciousness and thoughts, but it was independent of his original body. It could be said that it was a complete clone, equivalent to the relationship between Wu Yu's original body and the heaven-devouring body. However, under normal circumstances, the Eternal World Tree would not allow this clone to appear. After all, the clone was relatively weak, roughly equivalent to the level of the 8 Heavenly Demon King. Once it died, it would have a great impact on his own strength. Now, in order to survive, he could not care about it. But the small Eternal World Tree lay in front of the Yin-Yang Source Beast, which immediately attracted the attention of the pair of corpse puppets. The ice and fire storm that merged the power of both sides broke out instantly, submerging the small Eternal World Tree in ice and fire. The main body of the Eternal World Tree seemed to have suffered a severe blow in an instant. The lush green branches and leaves all over the body suddenly became somewhat withered and decadent. It was obvious that the death of the small Eternal World Tree clone had also caused a severe blow to the main body. But no matter what, he bought enough time for his escape. While the small Eternal World Tree clone attracted the attention of the Yin-Yang Source Beast corpse puppet, he finally reunited with Wu Yu. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1625. The Eternal Demon Emperor's clone was killed instantly by the Yin-Yang Source Beast, causing the Eternal World Tree to suffer heavy damage. Fortunately, he had come to Wu Yu and threw the bronze pendant directly out. Wu Yu caught it with one hand, and then let the Eternal World Tree transform into a human form, put it into the floating life tower, and let it stay in a space alone to recuperate, which was barely saved. Then Wu Yu quickly put away the bronze pendant, took the Eternal World Tree into the floating life tower, and used the magical power of the law of heaven and earth. His body shrank to an extreme and began to flee in the entire central hall. The Yin-Yang Source Beast quickly destroyed the Eternal Demon Emperor's clone, and then surrounded Wu Yu to kill him. Unfortunately, Wu Yu is too small now, not to mention the means of the somersault cloud, so it is difficult for the Yin-Yang Source Beasts to catch Wu Yu's whereabouts and kill him even if they unite. It is basically like playing cat and mouse. Whether it was the Sun Source Beast or the Tadian Source Beast, the corpse puppets made from the corpses of these two immortal emperor demons were not something Wu Yu could resist head-on at the moment, not to mention that the Yin-Yang Source Beast corpse puppets were now united. If there was no bait to separate them, their combined power of the heavenly rules would be more than 10 times more destructive than a single one. Wu Yu and his men were still able to barely resist the attack of the Tadian Source Beast and the Sun Source Beast alone. But when the two merged, they simply could not resist, and they were instantly reduced to ashes, just like the Supreme Lava Giant Beast and the Eternal Golden Mountain. Even the screams only lasted for a moment before disappearing. At this time, Wu Yu kept wandering and flying in this central hall, and once the Yin-Yang Source Beast approached him, he would use the somersault cloud to distance himself. For a while, the corpse puppets of the Yin-Yang Source Beast could not do anything to him, but Wu Yu could not find any way to escape. Now Wu Yu had to either make the two Yin-Yang Source Beasts lose their bodies or find the exit to the next hall. He even went to the center of the back of the middle hall to check and saw a bronze door. However, the door was now closed. Wu Yu could not leave the middle hall under such circumstances. As long as he stayed in front of the door for a moment, the Yin-Yang Source Beast would chase him and destroy him with a storm of ice and fire. In the process of continuous escape, Wu Yu even thought about whether to let Nanshan Wanjiao come out to try. But he quickly rejected it, because although Nanshan Wanjiao's Tianyu Wazao was powerful and could hide his body, it could only make the existence below the Eternal Emperor Immortal unable to detect his existence at most. Now the Yin-Yang Source Beasts, two Eternal Emperor demons from the ancient times of the demon god realm, were chasing Wu Yu. This kind of existence would definitely be able to see through Nanshan Wanjiao's Tianyu Wazao at this stage. So thinking of this, Wu Yu did not let Nanshan Wanjiao come out, which would be purely sending him to death. At this time, Ming Long, who had not been seen for a long time, suddenly spoke in a lively voice, "Wu Yu, did you notice that when the Eternal Demon Emperor threw out the bronze pendant just now, the Yin-Yang Source Beast corpse puppet seemed to stop for a moment?" As the voice came, Wu Yu thought about it and found that it seemed to be true, but at that time he was mainly focused on bringing the Eternal Demon Emperor into the floating life tower, and did not pay much attention to the actions of the Yin-Yang Source Beast. Now that Ming Long mentioned it, Wu Yu finally remembered that the Yin-Yang Source Beast did seem to have a momentary pause. But at that time Wu Yu did not care and did not associate it with the bronze pendant. Now that he thinks about it, it is really possible that it is related to the bronze pendant. "You are so smart, Ming Long, haha," Wu Yu was delighted. Although he was not 100% sure, it was still okay to try it. Anyway, there was no other way now. Stop flattering and get things done quickly. I don't buy this. Ming Long looked disdainful and spoke rudely, but this was exactly her character. Then, Wu Yu took out both bronze pendants. When the two bronze pendants appeared together, the two yin-yang beast corpses that were chasing him stopped at once. Moreover, the two yin-yang beast corpses began to decompose and turned into Ghost Valley Chaos Fire and Eternal Night Cold Tide, extending towards the entire middle hall. Just like when Wu Yu first came to this middle hall, the entire middle hall was covered by Ghost Valley Chaos Fire and Eternal Night Cold Tide respectively. The two yin-yang beasts quickly dissipated completely, and even their shadows could not be seen. This undoubtedly shows that the two bronze pendants can really restrain the yin-yang beast corpses. Wu Yu even thought that this bronze pendant could not be the pass to the tomb guarding hall. So, the corpse puppet of the purple-eyed emperor in the front hall before might have been stopped by this bronze pendant. Of course, it is meaningless to speculate now. Everything has passed, and the result is not bad for Wu Yu. At least the corpse puppet of the yin-yang source beast cleared the supreme lava giant beast and the eternal golden mountain for him. The competitiveness of these two obstacles is still very strong. If it is alive, I am afraid that something will happen later. It also won Wu Yu a subordinate like the Eternal World Tree. Of course, Wu Yu will not tell the Eternal World Tree about the situation outside now. Let it stay in there for a while first. If the truth is told to him, the Eternal World Tree may not cooperate with Wu Yu. Some unexpected events may happen. There is no need. When the yin-yang source beast disappeared from the entire middle hall and turned into Ghost Valley Chaos Fire and Eternal Night Cold Tide again, covering the entire middle hall, Wu Yu continued to move forward carefully from the side of the Ghost Valley Chaos Fire as at the beginning, covering his entire body with the power of the Golden Fire Heavenly Rule to resist the invasion from the Ghost Valley Chaos Fire. If there is a bronze pendant, as long as you have the 9th level of the Tegzu Fairyland, you can pass through this middle hall. But if not, if you want to pass through the middle hall, you must kill the two immortal emperor demon corpses of the yin-yang source beast. Unless you are a real immortal emperor, it will never succeed. Wu Yu now has the Golden Fire Heavenly Rule to protect his body, and he passes carefully, guarding against possible accidents. But soon, he approached the bronze gate leading to the next hall, and did not encounter any danger. It seems that the bronze pendant is indeed the thing that suppresses the yin-yang source beast. The 5 demon emperors did not guess that this is the key to the immortal emperor burial. Of course, there is only one eternal world tree left among the 5 demon emperors now, and this eternal demon emperor was also imprisoned in the floating life tower by Wu Yu, so they could not see the bronze pendant play a role. Then, Wu Yu carefully observed the bronze gate in front of him. It was not until he was safe to observe that he found that this bronze gate was much more magnificent than the black gates of the front hall and the middle hall before. The words back hall were carved in blood red in the middle of the gate, and what attracted Wu Yu more was the ancient mysterious patterns on the bronze gate, which almost covered the entire huge bronze gate. These patterns seemed to be the appearance of the eternal demon emperor. Wu Yu observed these patterns and felt shocked in his heart. The patterns that covered the entire bronze gate were the appearance of thousands of eternal demon emperors. From them, Wu Yu saw the carvings of the purple-eyed emperor that looked like a flying dragon, and the carvings of the yin-yang source beast that looked like the sun and the moon. These carvings have different shapes, and they are all carved out of the original appearance of the eternal demon emperor. Wu Yu saw that there was a carving in the shape of a phoenix surrounded by flames, but the flames were completely black, as if they came from the underworld. It seemed to be the famous immortal emperor demon in the demon god world, the Dark Phoenix Emperor. Wu Yu's memory of this came from the Ghost Fire Phoenix, a subordinate of the Hell Dragon King before. At that time, the Ghost Fire Phoenix was swallowed by him, and the appearance of the Dark Phoenix Emperor appeared in his memory. This can be said to be the ancestor of the Ghost Fire Phoenix. If it weren't for the war in the demon god world, the Ghost Fire Phoenix would definitely join the Dark Phoenix Emperor and become his subordinate, instead of choosing to be loyal to the Hell Dragon King. It might even have reached the realm of the immortal Emperor Demon long ago, and it would not have ended up as miserably as it is now. There is another carving, which is actually a stone pillar that reaches the sky and penetrates the sun. It stands tall and majestic. This is the immortal Emperor Demon Stone Emperor of the Sun. There is another carving, which is a scroll with thousands of miles of rivers and mountains and vast oceans. It is a Zhongshan Shiji too. It is also a scroll in the mortal world that has opened up its spiritual wisdom and finally became a demon. It is also the immortal Emperor Demon Zhongshan Emperor. Each carving is an immortal Emperor Demon, in various forms, and there is almost no repetition. These thousands of immortal Emperor Demons are now dead, and they are probably buried in this immortal Emperor burial. Everything seems extremely mysterious, making Wu Yu couldn't help but guess again, who built this immortal Emperor burial, and who started the war that destroyed the demon god world. This secret should be hidden in front, Wu Yu thought to himself, looking up at the bronze door in front of him, and saw that there were indeed two small grooves on the bronze door, which were just the shape to put the bronze pendant in. This is almost the same as the entrance to the Eternal Emperor's burial in the demon god realm, but Wu Yu was a little worried at this time, because one of the two bronze pendants on his body was fine, but the other one had a ban set by the 5 demon emperors. Now there is only one eternal demon emperor left among the 5 demon emperors, who can't break the ban on the pendant at all, and he doesn't know whether it will work. Now Wu Yu has no other way, and he didn't discuss it with the eternal demon emperor. Anyway, there is only one demon emperor, and it is useless. He directly placed both bronze pendants in the groove of the bronze door in front of him, focusing on the pendant that was sealed by the 5 demon emperors. He soon found that when this pendant was placed in the groove, the ban of the 5 demon emperors was automatically dissolved, and there was no movement, as if it had never existed. This made Wu Yu sigh that the level of the 5 demon emperors was too small in front of the eternal emperor's burial and the tomb guarding hall. The ban they set together was of no use at all. As the 2 bronze pendants were placed into the grooves, the entire bronze door finally began to slowly open, and a huge enclosed passage appeared in front of Wu Yu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1626. This is a wide, enclosed corridor. It is pitch black in front of it, and I don't know where the end is. Wu Yu stepped into the corridor and saw bronze statues of various shapes standing on both sides of the wide corridor. The images of these bronze statues are exactly the same as the Eternal Emperor demon carvings he had just seen on the bronze gate. Each bronze statue here is actually an Eternal Emperor demon. They are lined up in rows until the end of the corridor. I can't see the end, and I don't know how many statues there are in total. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. Compared to the Eternal Emperor demon carvings I had just seen on the bronze gate, these bronze statues all look lifelike, and even carry the tyrannical aura of the Eternal Emperor demon. A kind of pressure from the momentum makes Wu Yu a little breathless. There are too many statues here, and they look exactly like the real ones. Wu Yu tried to touch these statues and felt that the material of these bronze statues was extremely tough. Even if he tried his best, he could not destroy it in the slightest. This is the statue of the sun-piercing stone emperor. It is so magnificent. Wu Yu walked to a statue and saw that the statue was the most conspicuous one among the carvings on the bronze door before. It was a stone pillar that reached the sky and penetrated the sun. It rose all the way from the ground of the aisle and went deep into the darkness above the head, with no end in sight. This sun-piercing stone emperor statue was as thick as several hundred wu yes. As for how high it was, Wu Yu could not see it clearly at a glance. The top was completely immersed in darkness. Not far away was the Emperor of the Underworld burning with pitch-black underworld fire. This statue was in the form of flapping its wings and flying. Even the pitch-black underworld fire on its body looked lifelike, just like a real flame, with a different temperature from the surrounding things. The dark flames burning around the statue of the Dark Phoenix Emperor were extremely cold, and no one knew what they were made of. It might be that the Dark Phoenix Emperor's own dark fire power was very cold, a kind of cold fire, so the statues now shaped also inherited this. These statues of the Eternal Emperor demons are really lifelike. In addition to their shapes, the more important thing is their momentum and temperature, which give people a feeling that these Eternal Emperor demons are real and still alive. Wu Yu could feel that when he passed by a flame-attributed monster, the oncoming heat wave almost burned him into charcoal. The statue is in the form of a flame lion, but this flame lion has 9 heads, each of which has a unique attribute of flame. Its posture is extremely arrogant and domineering, and its whole body is filled with suffocating temperature. This flame lion seems to be called the 9-Fire Emperor. According to legend, it can use 9 different flames, which can be combined into extremely terrifying means. Even 3 or 5 people of the same realm cannot do anything to him. It is one of the legends of the demon god realm. Even though the 9-Fire Emperor was just a statue, Wu Yu felt a terrifying aura. If he stayed near the statue for too long, he would probably be roasted into charcoal. Continuing forward, the statue of Emperor Zhongshan on the bronze gate just now also appeared in front of Wu Yu. This was a long scroll, with thousands of miles of rivers and mountains and thousands of miles of oceans, all vivid and lifelike, and even the ocean had signs of waves, which made Wu Yu marvel. The statues were in different shapes, and Wu Yu seemed to have come to the corpse exhibition hall of the Eternal Emperor Demon. Suddenly, a possibility emerged from Wu Yu's mind, which made him feel chilling. In this corridor, it seems that I didn't see the yin-yang source beast or the purple-eyed emperor. Could it be? Thinking of this possibility, Wu Yu almost felt a sense of horror. Could it be that these statues in this corridor were not statues of the Eternal Emperor Demon, but the real corpses of the Eternal Emperor Demon? Or, were they already refined corpse puppets? Is it because Wu Yu held the bronze pendant that he did not move and remained in the same state as a statue? Chilling. Wu Yu could hardly imagine this possibility. If this could be true, then the thousands of corpse puppets at the level of the Eternal Demon Emperor were simply unimaginable. You know, among them, there are powerful beings in the world such as the ancient giant spirit god, and they were all refined into corpse puppets? This horrifying feeling made Wu Yu no longer interested in appreciating these statues, and he quickly walked towards the front of the aisle. He did not dare to put away the bronze pendant, for fear that if these were really corpse puppets at the level of the Eternal Demon Emperor, he would not be able to hold on for even a moment if he put away the bronze pendant, and would be killed by these corpse puppets. He quickly moved forward, and it was not until 3 days and 3 nights later that he finally passed the aisle area where all the statues of the Eternal Demon Emperor were displayed. The aisle in front was empty, and after walking forward for a while, he came to a crossroads. The situation at this intersection is that if he continues forward, he will reach the end of the corridor. It is pitch black over there, and no one knows what is there. On the left and right sides of the intersection, there is a bronze door. Although the bronze door is small, the material is rare, and you can see that there are 2 grooves on the bronze door, which should be able to be opened with a bronze pendant. It's dark at the end of the front. I don't know what's there. I can consider it later. Wu Yu thought about it and chose the door on the left first. After arriving here, Wu Yu had a feeling that this place might really be a test. As for what he could get after passing the test, no one knew. But now, Wu Yu only had one goal and motivation to move forward, that is, to survive. Just like the 5 demon emperors before, after arriving here and seeing so many dangers and incredible things, he had no delusion about the possible gains, and he was grateful to be able to survive. If all this was a test, Wu Yu would definitely seize the opportunity, because a test means a gain, provided that he survived the test. He chose the door on the left, and then went forward to put the bronze pendant into the two grooves of the door. As the bronze pendant was put in, the door slowly opened. Wu Yu was always alert to any danger, but no danger came out of the door. What appeared in front of him was only a deep darkness. A piece of darkness. Wu Yu was a little puzzled. After opening this door, it was actually a piece of darkness. He could not see what was inside at all, nor could he feel whether there was any danger inside. So should he go in or not? Wu Yu thought about it and finally decided to go in. If there was a trap in this place, there was no need to set up a separate room at the end of the corridor as a trap. He had already died when he just walked through the corridor. So this room should have some tests, or some opportunities. He stepped into the dark room boldly. After entering, Wu Yu found that this was actually an extremely empty and boundless dark space, not just a room as he had originally thought. This space was dark and boundless, extremely vast, and there was no end to it. As Wu Yu stepped into this space, the entire space suddenly became closed, and the door he entered disappeared in an instant. Just when Wu Yu was alert, countless mirrors appeared around him. These mirrors appeared in the space, up and down, front and back, left and right, and actually surrounded Wu Yu completely. And in these mirrors, Wu Yu's appearance was reflected. When he moved slightly, he moved together in all the mirrors. This reminded him of his magical power of clones, but the situation in front of him was much weirder than the millions of clones, which made Wu Yu frown, and he had no idea what was happening. Let's explore first. He began to explore the surroundings, and soon found that the entire boundless dark space was full of mirrors. No matter where he went, there would always be several mirrors around him reflecting him. He looked at the mirror, and the Wu Yu in these mirrors also looked at him, which made him feel a little creepy. Suddenly, a sense of danger came from behind him, which made him react immediately. Looking back, he found that there was actually a self walking out of the mirror. When looking in the mirror, the self in the mirror suddenly walked out. How weird is this situation? Wu Yu immediately knew that if this room was a test, the test should have started now. Before Wu Yu could react and put his mood in order, the mirror Wu Yu who walked out of the mirror suddenly launched an offensive against Wu Yu. This mirror image Wu Yu, in Wu Yu's eyes, looks exactly like him, with the same appearance, the same body shape, and even the same eyes. If there were outsiders here, they would not be able to tell which of them was real or fake. This reminded Wu Yu of when he first came to this Eternal Emperor's burial. At that time, just after going down to the Eternal Emperor's burial, in a fog, the real and fake Wu Jun appeared. At that time, Wu Yu could use his fire eyes to see through his opponent and then distinguish which one was real and which one was fake. However, now, even if Wu Yu used his fire eyes, he couldn't tell what kind of existence the other party was. Generally speaking, Wu Yu's fire eyes can tell what the other party's true form is at a glance. For example, demons will show their true form, and disguises are useless to him. But now, he stared at the mirror image Wu Yu with his fire eyes, and found that the other party looked like this. It was not a transformation at all, this was a living Wu Yu. This mirror image Wu Yu took the lead in launching an attack on Wu Yu. First, the golden fire heavenly rules swept out and slammed towards Wu Yu. The terrifying power contained in it was exactly the same as Wu Yu's golden fire heavenly rules. Watch this. Wu Yu did not show weakness. Since he wanted to fight, he would just defeat his opponent. He also used the golden fire heavenly rules, but he first used the battle heavenly rules to enhance his own fighting will, which made the power of the golden fire heavenly rules soar several times at once, and confronted the opponent's golden fire heavenly rules, and instantly exploded in the dark space. The forces of both sides collided and collapsed, but what Wu Yu did not expect was that the opponent also followed suit and used the battle heavenly rules, making it look exactly like Wu Yu, and when he used his means again, he also had the increase of the battle heavenly rules. The same method as mine. Wu Yu was a little unconvinced. As the opponent's second Golden Fire Heavenly Rule came with the momentum of the battle Heavenly Rule, he instantly turned over and fled to the distance, directly avoiding the opponent's attack. However, the space in front of Wu Yu flashed, and the mirror Wu Yu actually followed him to this space, and Wu Yu could feel that the opponent used the same magical power of Somersault Cloud. This made Wu Yu a little stunned. The self that came out of the mirror was exactly the same as himself. He could use any magical power and methods. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1627. Wu Yu became serious and realized that the self who came out of the mirror in front of him was definitely not easy to deal with. After all, it was something in the Eternal Emperor's burial. He transformed into a golden ape, and the magical power of reversing the void burst out, pulling the other party into the void world in an instant. However, the mirror image Wu Yu immediately performed the somersault cloud and jumped out of the void world. Wu Yu could not let the other party go, so he chased him directly, and then, with the blessing of the battle rules, the annihilation cloud seal instantly burst out where the other party was. The void was shaken by the annihilation cloud seal, and the mirror image Wu Yu only had time to perform shape change in a small range to avoid most of the power of his annihilation cloud seal. The annihilation cloud seal only touched a little edge, but the explosive power of the annihilation cloud seal alone was not enough to kill the other party, because Wu Yu discovered that the mirror image Wu Yu had also cultivated the indestructible body of the eternal Vajra immortal realm. Even this Vajra indestructible body is the same. Wu Yu was more and more surprised, and then he began to use various means. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Wu Yu had used all the means that he could use again, such as the Clone Heavenly Rule, the Golden Eye Heavenly Rule, the Law of Heaven and Earth, the Violence Technique, but during the battle, the opponent actually used the same means as him. No matter what kind of magical power or heavenly rule, the opponent could use it without any hindrance just like Wu Yu. Even the time-speed heavenly rule was like this. The time heavenly rule worlds of both sides affected each other in this dark space, just as if no one had used it, and the time flow around the bodies of both sides was still the same as usual. This made Wu Yu more and more shocked. If the opponent's means were the same as his, how could they fight? It was impossible for the two sides to decide the winner. In other words, it was too difficult to decide the winner, especially when the opponent could also use the somersault cloud. Wu Yu was originally very good at escaping, and now there is an opponent who is exactly like him. Basically neither of them can do anything to the other. In the case of a truly fatal attack, the opponent can just use the somersault cloud to escape, and Wu Yu can't kill him at all. It was not until now that Wu Yu discovered that he couldn't even crack the somersault cloud method, and it was too difficult to defeat the mirror image Wu Yu. There was even a situation where Wu Yu seized the opportunity and was about to use the Golden Eye's heavenly rules to hit the opponent and severely injure the mirror image Wu Yu, but the opponent suddenly flashed into the mirror of this space. Then, from another mirror image Wu Yu who was exactly like him walked out. The reappearing mirror image Wu Yu, like the previous mirror image Wu Yu, will display all his magical powers and heavenly rules methods. In this way, Wu Yu has no way to deal with the opponent. Of course, it is not so easy for the opponent to kill Wu Yu. The following situation was basically that Wu Yu and mirror Wu Yu were fighting non-stop. During this period, Wu Yu transformed into a giant beast that swallowed the sky, and the other party also transformed into a giant beast that swallowed the sky, exactly the same as him. There is no doubt that Wu Yu was in a stalemate. He felt that he could not kill his mirror image at all, especially since this mirror image was exactly the same as himself. Both sides knew their own methods too well, so it was almost impossible to defeat the opponent with these limited methods. This made Wu Yu particularly difficult. It seemed like an unbreakable situation, making him more and more irritable. He kept fighting against the mirror Wu Yu and constantly used various means. Although he could occasionally hit the other party and hurt the other party, he could not hurt the other party at all. Especially since the other party, like himself, had also cultivated the indestructible body of Vajra. This method made the speed of recovery of his physical injuries extremely fast, and he would be completely healed as long as he rested for a while. At the beginning, Wu Yu was still somewhat high-spirited. Although he had never encountered such a situation, he inherited the fighting spirit of the great sage equaling heaven and the fighting Buddha, so he would still have a strong fighting spirit when encountering such a situation. However, as time passed, Wu Yu became a little irritable. This reminded Wu Yu of the similar irritability he felt in the secret room before entering the tomb guarding hall, and he had no idea what to do next. The current situation seemed to be even worse. Because Wu Yu was not in a battle at least, and if he was not in a battle, he would not be nervous. If he was not nervous, he would be able to think about other things, and the most important thing was to adjust his mentality. But now, Wu Yu was in a constant battle, and he didn't even have time to adjust his mentality. Once he wanted to take a break, Mirror Wu Yu immediately came up and attacked him with the Divine Power Heavenly Rules. Golden Eye Heavenly Rules, Golden Fire Heavenly Rules, and Avatar Heavenly Rules. Wu Yu has now tasted the power of his own heavenly rules and can feel the vast and majestic power in it, which is exactly the same as what he exerted. The time speed up rules were also used by both sides to cancel each other out. Wu Yu did not give up and used it again. The opponent was not to be outdone and used it again to cancel it out again. Some restrictive measures were also used by the opponent, so they became meaningless in this battle. Wu Yu's ferocity was fully aroused in the continuous battle, but no matter how he dealt with the opponent would fight back and he would not get any results. Even the opponent kept switching between mirrors, coming out of one mirror and then another, making Wu Yu unable to defend. If he hadn't had the means of somersault cloud, he would have died dozens of times in the hands of the opponent. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. If this consumption continues, the possibility of Wu Yu defeating the opponent is very small. Wu Yu even tried to attack these mirrors, but these mirrors could not be destroyed at all, at least with Wu Yu's current strength. The two sides continued to stalemate and consume, and Wu Yu could feel that his state was basically the same as the opponent's. Both sides had the same understanding of the timing of the use of magical powers and heavenly rules, which showed that the mirror image Wu Yu also completely inherited the combat consciousness. This is completely another Wu Yu. How could there be such an existence in this world? Wu Yu gritted his teeth, and as a last resort, he tried to ask Wu Jun to come out to help. However, it would have been better if Wu Jun hadn't come out. As soon as Wu Jun came out of the floating life tower, an ancient fairy dragon immediately flew out of the mirror next to him and confronted Wu Jun, who had just appeared from the floating life tower. This situation made Wu Yu dumbfounded. What's going on? Wu Jun was also completely stunned, and immediately started a fierce battle with the mirror Wu Jun. The two ancient fairy dragons fought fiercely not far from Wu Yu. Strangely, the mirror Wu Jun would not attack Wu Yu, and the mirror Wu Yu in front of Wu Yu also ignored the real Wu Jun who came out of the floating life tower. This made Wu Yu wonder, is this place really a kind of experience? It seems that no matter who comes here, an identical mirror image will appear in the mirror to fight with him. The way to leave here is not yet known, but it can be preliminarily considered that one must defeat his own mirror image to pass the test. This made Wu Yu even more confused. What kind of place is this Eternal Emperor Burial and Tomb Guarding Hall? At first, Wu Yu thought this was a cemetery, with only some corpses of the Eternal Emperor Demon inside, and other than that, there should be some traps to prevent others from entering and destroying the cemetery. But now it seems that this is not the case at all. Just the things in this tomb guarding hall made Wu Yu a little confused. If it is really a training, what is the ultimate purpose of the builder of this Eternal Emperor's tomb? Wu Yu can't figure it out. Moreover, Some illusions and mirror images have repeatedly appeared in this Eternal Emperor's tomb. This method is a bit incredible, especially now that Wu Yu has learned that the mirror image Wu Yu has the same combat consciousness as him. When to use what magical power, what heavenly rules, it is exactly the same as his own ideas. It can be said that this is completely another self. In this case, how can he defeat the opponent? Seeing that Wu Jun couldn't help him, Wu Yu asked him to go back to the floating life tower. Then Wu Yu observed the mirror Wu Jun and found that the ancient fairy dragon really flew back to a mirror as it had just come out, and soon disappeared without a trace. Only Wu Yu and mirror Wu Yu were left in the field. The two sides continued to fight and consume, but still couldn't do anything to each other. Wu Yu was angry. He used all his strength to attack the mirror Wu Yu, and the other side also fought back. With continuous consumption, a month passed, and Wu Yu became more irritable. He didn't know what to do next and how to leave here. Afterwards, a year passed. During this year, the two sides continued to fight non-stop. At this time, Wu Yu felt that his strength had almost been exhausted. It can be said that he was exhausted. There was not even a place to rest in this place. Wu Yu wanted to stop and rest, but the mirror Wu Yu didn't give him a chance at all. He even released millions of clones to confuse the opponent, but unfortunately the opponent had a fiery eye and could see his true body at a glance, and launched an attack directly on his body. During this year, Wu Yu did not even have time to rest, and was very depressed. Now he felt a little like escaping, because such a battle was too tiring, not only physically, but also mentally. There was no rest for such a long time, which was almost unheard of in the past. Of course, the most important thing is that until now, Wu Yu still could not see any hope of defeating the opponent. The depressed will made Wu Yu's spirit a little dazed. The battle with the mirror image Wu Yu seemed to be a conditioned reflex. Although he would still use some magical powers to attack the mirror image Wu Yu, he did not think at all. He became a little numb, constantly wanting to escape and retreat. Continuing to fight, the mental pressure made it almost difficult for him to persist. I don't know how many times he burst into anger, but he still couldn't do anything to the mirror image Wu Yu. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1628. The entire Eternal Emperor's burial contains too many secrets. When Wu Yu was fighting against the mirror Wu Yu, he kept thinking about the things behind the Eternal Emperor's burial, but from the information he had now, he could not infer any useful information. He only knew that if the Eternal Emperor's burial really prohibited any living creatures from entering, he would have died here by now. It can be seen that this place has a way to survive, or it is deliberately trying to let some people in. As for what the purpose is, Wu Yu does not know. Wu Yu is now close to the truth, and is about to reach the back hall of the tomb guard hall, but on the way he walked into this room full of mirrors. 3 whole years have passed, Wu Yu has become very numb mentally, and his body is even more exhausted. Until now, he still has not found a way to defeat the mirror Wu Yu, and his mood is getting more and more irritable. He feels that he may have fallen into a trap, but if it is a trap, why would the other party use such means? According to the ability of the person who built the Eternal Emperor's burial, any immortal formation can take Wu Yu's life. So, there must be something hidden in it. Or maybe this room is some kind of test. According to a previous guess, there are quite a few tests along the way. If this room is a test, is the content of the test to defeat one's own mirror image? However, this mirror image is exactly the same as Wu Yu himself, and the means that can be used are exactly the same. It can also move at will with the help of the mirror. It is simply impossible to defeat such an opponent. However, Wu Yu has been silent for 3 years. During these 3 years, he has been passively resisting and has become more and more tired mentally. Under endless consumption, both sides can't do anything to each other, and Wu Yu has even gradually fallen into a disadvantage. If I continue with this mentality, I will definitely be defeated by this mirror image. No one can predict what the outcome will be. The most likely outcome is to die here directly. Wu Yu's face was nervous. At this moment, he recalled the various experiences he had all the way from the mortal world. Among those experiences, many things seemed impossible at the beginning, but he finally did it. The most terrifying thing was to fight against the ancient Emperor Yanhuang. At that time, the ancient Emperor Yanhuang had been a god who had been in heaven for a long time. He had great magical powers. A million Wu Yus could not be his opponent. But in the end, Wu Yu, through his own efforts and countless years of forbearance, finally eliminated the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, regained his body, and finally made the body of the devouring heaven merge with himself, making him what he is now. Wu Yu recalled his mentality of bearing humiliation and moving forward tenaciously, and felt that he seemed a little too fragile now. Isn't it just a mirror image? Even if everything is the same as me, it is just fake after all. There must be a way to deal with it. Wu Yu ignited a glimmer of hope in his heart. At this time, his eyes became bright, and the depression caused by the continuous consumption of attacks by the mirror Wu Yu seemed to be swept away. Until this moment, Wu Yu discovered that this mirror space seemed to have some psychological guidance, which specifically instilled in him a feeling that he could not defeat his opponent. However, with Wu Yu's willpower, after struggling for 3 years, he finally broke through such will indoctrination when he recalled his past experiences. It's this feeling, fighting everywhere, invincible. Wu Yu's eyes were filled with faith. He stared at the mirror Wu Yu who still wanted to attack and consume him. It seemed that the other party was different from before, mainly because Wu Yu's mentality was different from before. Before, he was affected by some kind of psychological indoctrination in this space, which made him irritable, and even almost lost his fighting spirit in just 3 years. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he still woke up and regained the previous state of super strong will. Although the means of the mirror Wu Yu were still exactly the same as his, Wu Yu was not afraid now. Since it is exactly the same as my means, let me check whether there are some flaws in my magical powers and heavenly rules. Wu Yu didn't care much before, and was purely fighting head-on with the other party. But now, he planned to observe while fighting. Since the mirror image Wu Yu used the same means as him, in such a battle, Wu Yu could see some weaknesses in his own magical powers and heavenly rules. If there were indeed weaknesses or flaws in his magical powers, wouldn't he become stronger if he corrected them? And for the current situation, once he could correct some of the weaknesses in his magical powers and make his magical powers stronger, he would be able to suppress the mirror image Wu Yu, defeat his opponent and finally win. With this purpose in mind, Wu Yu cheered up and began to fight with the mirror image Wu Yu. At this time, his physical body was actually very tired, but in this state, it made him more mentally tense and his attention reached 100% concentration. No matter what means the opponent used, he could always see the opponent's movements clearly, and then carefully observe whether there were any weaknesses in the heavenly rules released by the opponent, and if there were any weaknesses or flaws, how to crack them. Not long after, Wu Yu quickly discovered that there were indeed some inappropriate aspects in his use of his magical powers and heavenly rules. Whether it was the first heavenly rule, the gold and fire heavenly rule, or the sixth heavenly rule, the time-speed heavenly rule, he did not use them perfectly. Under careful observation, mirror Wu Yu continued to use various methods that Wu Yu knew. Every few times, Wu Yu could see some subtle flaws in them. As time passed and the battle continued, he found more and more flaws in the opponent. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. The opponent's flaws are Wu Yu's own flaws. After discovering the flaws, Wu Yu improved his magical powers and heavenly rules. Of course, he did not use them immediately because he was worried that once he used the improved methods, the opponent would also learn them. If you want to defeat your opponent, you can only improve your magical powers to the point where they cannot be improved any further and eliminate all the subtle flaws that exist. This requires a long period of accumulation. At least now Wu Yu can find a subtle flaw in one of his magical powers every few days. As long as he improves it, he can increase the power of that magical power a lot. If this continues, when I fully improve my power, my combat power will at least double. Wu Yu is very persistent and excited about this goal. In the past 3 years, he was influenced by some kind of psychological guidance, which made him depressed and frustrated. He almost completely immersed himself in decadence and boredom, and was eventually trapped here. But now, he changed his fighting style. In the battle, he observed the opponent's magical powers and heavenly rules, that is, his own magical powers and heavenly rules, so that he could find a way to improve himself. In this constant battle, it is almost impossible for Wu Yu to go to the next level and break through to the realm of 7 heavenly immortal king. And once he breaks through, the movement will be too big and too obvious, and the mirror image Wu Yu is likely to break through immediately. So for Wu Yu, the only chance of winning is to accumulate in the battle, find one flaw after another in his magical powers and heavenly rules, and finally gather them together. After correcting them, they will burst out more than double the power. With this, Wu Yu may be able to defeat the mirror image Wu Yu who is exactly the same as himself. The main reason is that when he uses his magical powers and heavenly rules, the way he exerts his strength may not be perfect, and his control over his magical powers and heavenly rules is not exquisite enough, which makes it impossible to exert all the power. As he and the mirror image Wu Yu continued to fight, he controlled his power more and more accurately, but all of this was hidden by him. During the battle, Wu Yu still showed the same method as before without correcting the flaws, so he was evenly matched with the opponent. This process was very hard, mainly because the first 3 years had exhausted Wu Yu's body to the extreme. In this state, Wu Yu had to concentrate on finding flaws while fighting, which was extremely difficult. If it weren't for his strong willpower, even when he couldn't hold on, he would have collapsed long ago. In the Fusion Tower, Wu Jun and others could now know Wu Yu's state. Old Wu is going to fight to the death. His current state is too difficult, and he has almost reached his limit. Nanshan Wanjiao was not the first time to be moved by Wu Yu. He felt that Wu Yu's willpower was like iron, and no matter what force could not shake it. It was not difficult to defeat Wu Yu, but it seemed that nothing between heaven and earth could do it to defeat Wu Yu's will. Brother Wu Yu will definitely succeed, but he just needs to hold on for a while longer. Yezixi opened her cute big eyes and said with confidence. She had the most confidence in Wu Yu and always believed that Wu Yu could succeed no matter what happened. Especially after experiencing the dilemma in the secret room before. Even in that desperate scene, Wu Yu was able to break through the shackles, so what else could be difficult for him? Wu Jun did not speak, but he still admired Wu Yu very much in his heart. He asked himself, if he was in this environment, he would definitely not be able to hold on for 3 years, and his mentality would collapse and his fighting spirit would be gone. But Wu Yu, now, is getting braver and braver. In the process of fighting and learning, Wu Yu's control over his magical powers and the power of the heavenly rules has become stronger and stronger. Although he did not show it, he could feel that once he completely broke out, the combat power he could form would have exceeded twice the original. Year after year, Wu Yu continued to endure the double fatigue of spirit and body in order to be foolproof, and continued to fight to the limit. Finally, this year has come. This is the 10th year since he entered the mirror space. At this time, he feels that his mastery of magical powers and heavenly rules has almost reached the extreme. Fighting with the mirror Wu Yu for a longer time will not improve anything. It's time for the decisive battle. Wu Yu's eyes were firm. Although he was tired, he was absolutely eager to win. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1629. In 10 years, the mirror image Wu Yu has hardly changed, just like when Wu Yu first entered this space. His methods are exactly the same as Wu Yu at that time. But now, Wu Yu is different from before. He spent 7 years to understand the methods and magical powers of his opponents, and found many defects and flaws from them. You must know that these magical powers and methods were originally Wu Yu's own. So he gradually improved his magical powers and heavenly rules, mainly in details. If the power of heavenly rules is compared to a weapon, such as an axe, then how to swing this axe will cause completely different lethality. Horizontal chop, vertical chop, head axe, etc., different ways of use lead to different power. The same is true for Wu Yu's heavenly rules. The first gold and fire heavenly rules, the fourth clone heavenly rules, the fifth golden eye heavenly rules, and the sixth time speed heavenly rules, all have different ways of use. Wu Yu originally exerted a strong power, but he still did not master the best release technique, resulting in the power not reaching the maximum. According to Wu Yu's current understanding of his own power of the heavenly rules, if he uses the heavenly rules of his clones again, he only needs to activate 100,000 clones at the same time, and the power can reach the level of the previous million clones combined. You can imagine how much progress he has made now. Even when Wu Yu was sure that he could easily defeat the mirror image Wu Yu, he did not attack him immediately, but chose to continue to consume him, so as to observe more flaws and defects in his own means and magical powers. After all the flaws and defects were found, Wu Yu had reached a point where he could no longer improve his magical powers. He was equivalent to completely improving the existing means and magical powers, so that the power of each heavenly rule and magical means was at least doubled. If he could only defeat 19 Heavens Demon King at the same time before, now he can stabilize the situation and even find an opportunity to kill the opponent when dealing with 2 or even 3 9 Heavens Demon Kings at the same time. In a short period of time, the battle between Wu Yu and the mirror image Wu Yu made him completely surpass his former self, and even benefited him a lot in the future. With the continuous improvement of his cultivation realm, his future combat power will also benefit from this improvement and become stronger. It's time to end. Void reversal. Wu Yu raised his hand, and the magical power of the somersault cloud burst out instantly. The void world and the world of heaven and earth reversed in an instant. However, unlike before, the void world created by Wu Yu this time was thicker and more difficult to break through. The mirror image Wu Yu was still immersed in the previous battle and was unable to react, so he was sealed in the void world by Wu Yu. To break through the current void world, the difficulty is at least twice as high as before. The mirror image Wu Yu was still thinking about escaping, but was delayed for a moment, and then the annihilation cloud seal exploded near him. The terrifying explosion of the void power finally made the mirror image Wu Yu suffer. This was the first time he had suffered such a serious injury in the past 10 years. Although the injury was not fatal, it seemed to make the mirror image Wu Yu realize that Wu Yu seemed to have changed in some way. However, just as the other party reacted, Wu Yu's next attack arrived. Golden Eye's Heavenly Rules. Wu Yu once again used one of the strongest Heavenly Rules powers, and the Golden Eye's Heavenly Rules power suddenly shot out from his pupils. This was the super condensed Golden Eye's Heavenly Rules power. He condensed the Heavenly Rules power in the most meticulous way, making the destructive power of the Golden Eye's Heavenly Rules power more than twice the original. This time, the opponent did not have time to resist and was finally hit by Wu Yu. The terrifying golden color of the Golden Eye's Heavenly Rules burned on his body all of a sudden. Almost in an instant, the mirror image Wu Yu was melted into ashes by the golden light. This time, the mirror image Wu Yu had no chance to hide back in the mirror, and he did not even have time to use the somersault cloud. Wu Yu seized the opportunity and completely killed him. The most important thing is that although Wu Yu gradually improved his power of magical powers and heavenly rules in 10 years, he did not show it at all. which deceived the mirror image Wu Yu and finally made the final decision. It can be imagined that once Wu Yu missed this opportunity, the opponent would probably improve with his progress, resulting in the loss of opportunity. It would be difficult for Wu Yu to make such progress again. Fortunately, Wu Yu succeeded in one fell swoop, and finally defeated his opponent with his improved magical powers and heavenly rules. Great, Yezixi jumped up happily in the Fusion Tower. Although the time was not long, the setbacks Wu Yu suffered in these 10 years were mainly mental hardships, which she saw completely. If it were another person, it might not be possible to do this. Especially in the first 3 years, Wu Yu's spirit was almost about to collapse, and his body was exhausted to the extreme. It was incredible that he could persist in this state for the next 7 years. Perhaps this is the difference between me and Lao Wu. He can fight to the death to improve himself. Nanshan Wanjiao also had a lot of feelings. In fact, he was still very hard in his private practice, because he also knew that strength was everything. But hard work and fighting are not the same thing. He can work hard, but if he is asked to fight for such a long time, he may not be able to persist. This mirror space seems to be a test, allowing people who come here to surpass themselves by fighting with their own mirrors. No matter who it is, the battle with the mirror image will definitely be protracted. Without perseverance, it is absolutely impossible to succeed. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. When Wu Yu completely killed the mirror image Wu Yu, the countless mirrors in the dark space finally disappeared, as if they had never appeared, and the bronze door he came in through finally appeared behind him again. After 10 years, Wu Yu finally left this mirror space. He turned and walked out of the room, and finally looked back and saw that the door was closed again, but on the door, 2 big words appeared: Transcendence. Sure enough, this is a test, and this is just a door on the left. Wu Yu raised his head and looked forward. When he came to this closed corridor, he came to a crossroads. He first chose the room on the left to enter, which was the Transcendence room, challenging the mirror image, persisting in tempering his will and finally surpassing himself. And the door on the right, I don't know what's in it. However, the encounter between Transcendence made Wu Yu full of confidence. If all these were just tests, he was confident that he could pass any difficult test, especially since these tests would greatly improve him. Since it is a test that will improve me, I can't miss it. Let's see what the test is in the room on the right. Wu Yu was full of fighting spirit and walked straight to the door of the second room. As before, he embedded the bronze pendant into the door, and then the room opened directly. He wanted to see what was in the room, but it was a pity that it was pitch black inside and he couldn't see anything. The unknown represents danger, but the path of cultivation has always been to seek wealth and honor in danger. Moreover, Wu Yu has just passed a test and came out of between Transcendence, so he is still quite confident in himself. Anyway, now Wu Yu can be sure that the room here is unlikely to be created to put people to death, and it must have its purpose. This is related to the secret behind the entire Eternal Emperor burial. Before he reached the end, Wu Yu could not guess it no matter how hard he tried. In that case, let me see what's in this room. Wu Yu stepped into the room with an extremely firm belief. Originally, Wu Yu was prepared to face some challenges and even planned to fight. But as soon as he stepped into the room, he immediately felt dizzy, and then his eyes went black and he completely lost consciousness. When Wu Yu woke up and regained consciousness, it seemed that a long time had passed. He felt that he seemed to be in a closed space. He had been in a daze for a long time before. He was in a state of half sleep and half wakefulness, but there was no specific dream, just very drowsy. Where is this? Wu Yu tried to open his eyes to see, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open his eyes. The place he was in was very narrow, so narrow that it was very difficult for him to move, and he could only feel that his body seemed very weak and his vitality was very weak, which made him a little scared. The main reason was that he found that he had no way to look inside to see the situation in his body. He couldn't feel anything about the magical powers, heavenly rules, immortal kings, immortal gods, etc. that he had cultivated before. Faintly, he seemed to hear someone talking outside this place, but the words were very vague, and he couldn't hear clearly what the people outside were saying. What's going on? Wu Yu was a little puzzled. He had imagined several situations before, but he didn't expect it to be like this. The expected battle did not come, and there was not even any hostile aura. The only thing that scared him was that he seemed to have become very weak. He relied on the abilities he had gained from his practice so far, all kinds of magical powers, and the power of heavenly rules. He even improved his magical powers and heavenly rules a lot in the previous room. But now, all of this could not be sensed, which made Wu Yu feel a little depressed. Even now, he couldn't even feel the floating life tower, which made him even more difficult to accept. In this closed space, Wu Yu found that his consciousness could not stay awake all the time, and his body also felt uncomfortable as if it was bound, drowsy, sleeping and waking up. What on earth was going on? Finally one day, Wu Yu felt that he had finally gotten out of this enclosed space with great difficulty, and was accompanied by a somewhat unfamiliar but joyful voice, "I'm out, I'm out." Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1630. All Wu Yu's perceptions were blurry. He finally managed to open his eyes and saw a young couple appearing in front of him, who looked very unfamiliar. What is certain is that Wu Yu has never seen this young couple before. Moreover, the young couple is now looking at him happily, and he is being held in the arms of the woman. This. I became a baby, Wu Yu reacted quickly. His initial thought was that all this might be an illusion. This was a test for him in the tomb guard hall in the tomb of the Eternal Emperor. But what he felt was so real that he saw no sign that it was an illusion. He opened his eyes wide and tried to observe his surroundings. The young couple took him and lived in an ordinary courtyard. Because of his birth, they seemed particularly happy and even planned to invite some relatives and friends to celebrate. Wu Yu wanted to speak, but as soon as the words came out, he burst into tears. A burst of crying made the couple even more happy and regarded him as their treasure. This can't be true, can it? Wu Yu struggled a little. He wanted to break free from the shackles of this illusion, but with the body of his newborn baby, he couldn't even break free from the woman's arms, let alone this illusion. The last test is to surpass yourself. The main test is your own will and perseverance. What will this test be? What do you want me to do by putting me in this false illusion? Wu Yu thought this way. Since he couldn't struggle, he simply stopped struggling and waited for a while to see the situation. The situation was rather strange now, but he expected that the test in this room would not be too simple, so he was not too anxious for a while. Although he is now in the body of a baby, his thinking is still stuck in the past, so he can even understand the conversation of the young couple. After a few days, he has figured out everything about the situation. 8. The place where he is now is called Yangliu Town. It is actually a border town of the Wu Kingdom in Dongyu in the mortal world. It is very far away from the capital of Wu. Of course, this distance is only for people in the mortal world. If it were Wu Yu in the past, he could cover hundreds of times this distance with a single somersault. His father is named Yang Fan, and his mother is named Lu Yu. In Yangliu Town, there are too many families named Yang and Lu, and Yang Fan and Lu Yu are not considered wealthy families. Yang Fan opened a shop in the city and sold some fabrics. He was just an ordinary businessman. He was not a big shot in this border town, let alone compared to the entire Dongyu Wu Kingdom. I wonder what era it is in this illusion. Wu Yu was a little curious, but now that it was just a baby's body, it was impossible to know more. What he knew so far was all Yang Fan and Lu Yu had communicated with their relatives in the past few days. They took him aside and let him hear it. In fact, in Yangliu town, Wu Du's wife was mentioned less. Not to mention things like gods and cultivation. It has been 4 or 5 days since Wu Yu was born and I haven't heard any news about warriors from Yangfan. It can be seen that there are probably not even a few warriors in Yangliu town. Could it be that this illusion is trying to lower my starting point and test whether I can still stick to the path of monasticism? Wu Yu guessed in his mind, but now everything is still a mystery. He even had a guess that he might have died and was just reincarnated now. Of course, this idea only flashed through his mind now, and he didn't think much about it. Now his mind is still stuck in the tomb guarding hall, so it has not changed. It is just equivalent to looking at the world with the eyes of an outsider. He continued to exist in the body of a baby. Lu Yu took good care of him and held him in her hands all the time. At this time, Wu Yu felt that time passed very slowly, which gave him a bad feeling. When Wu Yu realized the speed-changing rule of time before, he discovered that as his lifespan increased, his perception of the speed of time would also change. When I first became immortal, I felt that time was slowing down. After all, 100 years is a lifetime, and every year of immortal's life was very exciting. But as he became a true immortal, his lifespan could reach hundreds of thousands or millions of years. At that time, hundreds of years passed by in a flash for him, and even a breakthrough in retreat would take him thousands of years. According to the time-speed rule that he had learned before, Wu Yu could probably judge his approximate level by the speed of time. But now he felt that time flowed extremely slowly during his infancy, which gave him a premonition that he seemed to have undergone some changes. I am afraid it was not as simple as coming to an illusion. The first month was very difficult for him. He is still thinking that when he grows up, he must go to Wuda to see the situation before making other plans. However, he felt that a long time had passed, and only 1 month had passed. 1 month after he was born, Yang Fan and Lu Yu held a banquet for him together, inviting some relatives and friends, as well as some of Yang Fan's business partners. This was the first time in Wu Yu's life that he had seen such a big scene. Is this Yang Chen? Ha ha ha, those little eyes look very spiritual. The second brother actually gave birth to a good son, ha ha. Yang Fan's eldest brother said with a smile while staring at Wu Yu, who was in a baby state. Yang Chen, this is Wu Yu's new name in this life. Yang Fan and Lu Yu thought about it for several days and gave him this name. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Not bad, this kid will definitely have a promising future when he grows up. Yang Fan, you will be blessed in the future. A distant relative of Yang Fan also smiled and complimented. This is Wu Yu's full moon wine in this life. 1 month after the birth of the newborn, his parents invited relatives and friends to come and have a banquet, which is considered to inform others that they have a son. Most of the guests who came complimented him casually, but they still felt a little strange about Wu Yu. After all, in their eyes, Wu Yu was just Yang Chen, a baby who was only 1 month old. It was the first time he saw so many people around him, and he might be scared and cry. However, Wu Yu was too calm now. His eyes kept scanning the guests present, not missing any details, as if he was looking for something. Wu Yu was of course looking for the inconsistency in this scene, so as to find out the flaws of this illusion. Unfortunately, no matter how he looked, the whole courtyard was extremely harmonious. Yang Fan and Lu Yu entertained the guests, and the guests also talked and laughed, discussing some interesting things that happened near Yangliu town. The details were very clear, and Wu Yu couldn't tell whether it was an illusion or reality. There was a voice in his mind telling him that it was just an illusion, just a test brought to him by the tomb guarding hall, but everything seemed so real that he couldn't escape from it at all. He didn't cry loudly, and was held in Lu Yu's arms very quietly. But it was precisely because of this that he seemed different from others, and there was a big difference from other babies in Yangliu town, which made many guests curious about him, especially his eyes, which were full of wisdom and agility, which made people marvel. This also made Yang Fan and Lu Yu very happy. After all, everyone hopes that their children will be different and become big figures in the future. I heard that a group of bandits came to Longhu Mountain some time ago. Many passing merchants and hunters were robbed by them, and some even lost their lives. It was so tragic. That's right. But I heard that our old martial artist in Yangliu town, Master Yang Bai, has set out to wipe out this group of bandits. Good news will come in a day or two. Master Yang Bai is a martial artist, different from ordinary people like us. It is said that he killed a tiger with one punch when he was young. It's amazing. Listening to the guests' discussions about martial artists, Wu Yu always felt indescribably awkward. He felt that this level was very low. Even if a martial artist practiced to the top, his strength was as light as a feather, and his lifespan was no different from that of an ordinary person. In his eyes, martial artists and ordinary people were basically no different. But in Yangliu town, even martial artists were extremely rare, not to mention those who practiced Taoism. As for immortals, there was no need to even think about it. For the people of Yangliu town, any Taoist who passed by could be regarded as a goddess. For example, if the former Haoshan immortal of Dongyu Kingdom came to Yangliu town, everyone would definitely exclaim and worship him. It is said that there really were gods and immortals in Yangliu town, but it was hundreds of years ago, and they were all legends passed down from generation to generation. Now in Yangliu town, there are basically few legends about gods and immortals. This is the current situation of Yangliu town. Wu Yu was a little anxious to grow up, and then go to Wudu to have a look. This is the only thing he wants now. Obviously, if he stays in Yangliu town, this illusion will never be broken. So, he must go out, but he has to wait until he grows up a little. With his current infant state, how can he go to such a faraway place as Wudu? The full moon banquet was over very quickly. Not long after, a message came that Master Yang Bai from Yangliu town had gone out and had indeed wiped out all the bandits, captured several of the leaders, and escorted them back to Yangliu town. Yang Fan did go out to see it, but Lu Yu held Wu Yu and didn't take him out. After all, he was too young to go out to watch the fun. If something unexpected happened and he was trampled, it would be the end of him. Master Yang Bai is worthy of being a master. His kung fu is so powerful that he can kill a tiger. It's absolutely possible. It's amazing. If I were 20 years younger, I would definitely practice martial arts and become a martial arts master. After Yang Fan came back, he praised Master Yang Bai endlessly, but unfortunately he also knew that he had lost the possibility of becoming a martial arts master. Lu Yu laughed and scolded, practicing martial arts also depends on talent. There are many people with talent in Yangliu town who can practice martial arts. You should forget it. But our Yang Chen may have some chance. This kid, to be honest, is a little weak. It is probably impossible for him to practice martial arts. Don't think about it. It's good enough to live a peaceful life. How dangerous is it to practice martial arts? Yang Fan loves Wu Yu, that is, Yang Chen, but he can see that his son's physique is naturally a little weak, and it is basically impossible for him to practice martial arts.